Joseph Mallard William Turner, a grandiose name for the grandest painter Britain produced. Born in 1775, a Cockney lad who rose from the ragged streets of London to become Britain's most revered painter. In his day, he was admired by some, hated by others. The critics dismissed him as a madman. They called his work unfinished, pictures of nothing. Today, those pictures are nothing short of extraordinary.
1,000,008, 1,000,009.
Last July, the finest collection of Turner watercolors for sale in more than a century fetched almost $22 million at a Sotheby's auction. And now, the first major Turner retrospective in America in nearly half a century, featuring 140 paintings and watercolors on view at the National Gallery of Art in Washington. Frank Kelly is curator of the exhibition. He was obsessed with light, with capturing it and even enhancing it.
Yes, and it's there from the beginning, the early watercolors where the shafts of sunlight are breaking through that cloudy sky, and all the way through the great late visionary works where you're really staring at the sun in some of them.
He was the son of a barber, a prodigy who made a name for himself selling pictures from his father's shop window. At age 14, he enrolled at the Royal Academy of Arts in London, and by 21 exhibited his first major painting, Fisherman at Sea.
He's showing off. He's showing his learnedness, but also his ability.
The remarkable thing about that painting, to me, the moonlight, which just pulls you into the painting, but that it was so early on.
It's a remarkable performance, and I think it's also amazing how, as you're pulled into it, you go in and you start to see there's real everyday detail in there. The fishermen are setting their nets, and you see them working, and his observant qualities are evident from the beginning.
Turner painted majestic cathedrals, the stately homes of England, and crumbling ruins. But it was nature that inspired him most. From dramatic sweeping landscapes, thunderstorms, blizzards, and squalls.
I mean, he was working within a tradition in the late 18th, early 19th century that had a name, the sublime, that was in artistic theory was one of the characteristics of looking at nature when you were in awe or in fact maybe a little frightened by it, you know, big, tall mountains or precipices and deep chasms.
Was it that evident then there was something going on here that was so remarkable?
I think it became evident very soon, in part because of Turner. He must have been a tremendously hard worker. He once said, when asked, what's the secret of your success, he said, damned hard work.
A hard worker, but not beyond some self-promotion. He opened a gallery in London to showcase his work. He produced a book of studies, a kind of catalog advertising his talents. But it was his paintings of the sea that made his reputation, from the everyday to the extraordinary. For the first 2 decades of Turner's career, Britain was at war with France. Its glories and tragedies made their way into his work, from the monumental Battle of Trafalgar and the defeat of the French at the field of Waterloo, to the iconic Fighting Temeraire. The Fighting Temeraire, which is not in the show, painted in 1838, portraying the last moments of this dashing, heroic ship being towed for salvage, towed to be broken up.
By a dirty-looking little steam tug.
Well, so you have, in a sense, the dawn of the industrial age and all of its corruption, and the tragic end of sail, and of this remarkable ship that was captured from the French earlier and saved victory at Trafalgar.
It's an amazing painting, and interestingly enough, Turner would never sell it. He called it my darling.
His darling was considered too precious to leave Britain for the Washington show. In September 2005, Britons voted it the nation's most beloved painting. The war ended in 1815. 2 years later, Turner's travels began. He toured Europe, painting extraordinary watercolors, the Rouen Cathedral in France, Lake Lucerne in Switzerland, the Grand Canal in Venice. Was it Turner who put watercolors on the map and made them a serious pursuit?
Not single-handedly, but certainly one of the most important factors. And he used a fluid, literally, watercolor to create these veils and these sort of mysterious suggestions of color and form that were really pushing the medium technically in ways it hadn't been.
As in the burning of the Houses of Parliament. Live coverage, we would call it today. He painted away as he witnessed this fire in 1834. 9 watercolors and 2 oil paintings reunited here for the first time. And in them we see the first hints of Impressionism, 50 years before its time.
They're extraordinary in their own right for these just rapturous color and contrasting of hot reds and oranges and cool blues. And it's amazing. Always you can sort of make out at least maybe a sense of the structure and where it is.
Well into his 60s, he continued to paint, but his work became more and more abstract. He outraged critics. They called his paintings the fruits of a diseased eye and a reckless hand. I could see how a painting like this could cause an uproar in 19th century art circles because it is pure abstraction.
It's a very strange painting.
And as you get closer, it becomes only marginally less abstract.
The modern title has been given to it, which is Death on a Pale Horse, but normally you think of death riding the horse, and as I said, if this is Death on a Pale Horse, it's dead death. I mean, he's, you know.
Could we fairly describe him as the first modern painter?
I think you could. Art is not necessarily always easy and pretty, and you see strains there that, again, that feel modern.
And what is more modern than questioning the official version of victory? This, the great victory at Waterloo, end of the war with the French.
Subject of great national importance to the British, and yet in Turner's world, it's a kind of nightmare vision of the casualties, literally, of the cost of the war.
And mixed together the British and the French.
British and the French, and dead horses, and this incredible scene by torchlight of women looking maybe for their loved ones, or as I said, maybe looking for loot.
It's almost an anti-war painting, this painting, which would be extremely unusual.
Absolutely.
In the 19th century.
Absolutely.
Turner exhibited his last painting in 1850. He died in 1851. In defense of his work, he once said, "Atmosphere is my style." He was right. He was the master of light, surely one of the greatest landscape painters in the history of art. His name is Joseph Mallard William Turner, the precursor of modern art and the subject of an illuminating new show at the National Gallery of Art in Washington. He was considered a poet, a painter, a romantic rebel, a genius, a great magician, certainly eccentric. All of those true?
Yes, I think so.
Later on Sunday morning, Turner in full light.